GM. GM. Today's lesson, I want to talk about sticking points in your growth. I'll use an example of my own trading, but it applies outside of the markets. It applies across all areas of life. And for me, one of the things I noticed when I started trading was I had financial sticking points in terms of portfolio size. So like total portfolio size. And for me, the first big one was 50K, 50,000. And I remember really well getting close to 50 and not getting over it. And maybe 2-3 months would go by and I'd be at 30, 35, 40, 45, get right up to 50, but it would hit 50, it would drop back and I'd chop around sort of, you could imagine the equity curve, right? It was 50 to 40, 40 to 50, 50 to 40. And then get above it briefly, get to 55 towards 60, but then it would drop back. And this went on for several months. This could be 6, 7, 8 months. And before then, I'd been making progress pretty rapidly due to good market conditions, plus, just systems working well or whatever. Growing up to that 50 went really fast. Then 50, there was just for me, there was like a mental block there. And it wasn't because 50K means anything particularly. I guess I would have probably guessed that it would be 100K when I first started trading. Like I would have guessed that the big round number of 100K would have been a sticking point, but it actually wasn't. It was 50,000. And I've spoken to a lot of traders, as you can imagine, in my network. And they all say the same. There is a sticking point. Everyone has one or multiple. And it's not a certain number. If it's 50 for me, it's not for you. It could be different for you. It could be different for the next guy and the next guy and the next guy. But here's the interesting thing. I had, I don't know exactly how long, but I could have spent 9 months with my trading account between 40 and 60. Right? But it was really more so 40, even sometimes high 30s. And anytime it got to 50, got above, felt like I was building up momentum, it dropped back. And then all of a sudden it broke. And I went from 50 to 250 within 6 months. And there wasn't, this has nothing to do with market conditions either. Like the market was the market. But it was amazing. And it was the first time I'd really seen it in my trading of how there can be this psychological level. There can be a barrier which feels like a plateau or feels like something that you can't get above. And then when you do get beyond it and you break past it, you actually see like a little spurt of exponential growth. And it felt like, because, even though you're not supposed to, you should really think about percentages, but it felt like months were going by and I was like, I've made 7K this month. But then the next month I might lose a bit, or I might make 3K or 4K. And it was like, I kept, focusing on how many dollars I was making in these months and not trying to focus on the path and the whole process. To then when it actually went past it, when I broke beyond it, it went 50 to 100 within a month. And from there, it compounded further all the way up to 250 in a span of 6 months. So from going from 10 or 20K to 50, 9 months of solid grinding and it could not get past it. And then it went 5x from there in 6 months. And it's crazy how, I say this lesson because many of you will go through this. And it's hard to really understand it until you go through it. But if you're at that point where you have some kind of sticking point, and this can be in your trading, it can be in your work, it can be in your, physical health, fitness, anything. These kind of sticking points that you reach, you will get past it. As long as you continue to have a growth mindset and do the right things, you will get past it. And when you get past it, you'll see probably rapid growth, rapid change. Last thing about that, if you're specifically looking at the markets, I think the reason why you have a mental subconscious sticking point in your portfolio is because of the utility of money. So like back then, 50K was loads of, 50K is a lot of money anyway. But back then, 50K was like all the money in the world, all the money I had. And so I guess it was like, in my head, I was thinking like this is like a fucking year's salary for most people. And maybe there was something in my brain that was like, this is so much money. And you could do so many things with it. And if you've been through boot camp, you'll have heard me talk about the marginal utility of money. And I've noticed this for sure. As you make money, the more money you make, the easier it becomes to make money. 100%. Ask anyone, ask any millionaire, anyone who's rich, anyone you know who's got a lot of money, they'll tell you that. The more you make, the easier it is to make money. Because going from 0 to 50 is huge. All the things you can do. Going from 50 to 100, that's big, but it's not as big as going from 0 to 50. And then going from 100 to 150 is relatively not much. 150 to 200 is not much. 2 to 250 is not that much. And it gets less and less and less and less. And that mental baggage decreases really rapidly once you hit whatever that sticking point. Once you break past it, you'll just see everything change. Really, really hard to put it into words. You'll see everything change if you just keep pushing and get yourself through that level. And then you'll never look back.